And now, aviation weather around Alaska. Hello, I'm National Weather Service Meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska aviation weather outlook as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, coming off of this Monday, we're watching a system with snow pushing southeastward across the Panhandle. Still some lingering areas of snow and lower IFR conditions here in the southern Panhandle early on Tuesday. Otherwise, conditions will be improving. We have an area of low pressure that'll be moving from this Monday across eastern Russia and then up into the Chukchi Sea and eventually up in the Arctic Ocean well north of Utqiagvik as we go into Tuesday night. So cold front arcing along and ahead of this system will be pushing across northern portions of the state and then just gradually weakening. But moisture along this front and areas of predominantly light snow I should say the heavier snow that's been in this region will begin to diminish as it works its way further inland. But IFR will be extensive along areas of the Yukon Valley all the way into the southwest coast. Now by Tuesday afternoon, we do anticipate IFR conditions to continue here across central interior, eastern interior, especially north of the Alaska Range and along the Yukon River. The Panhandle will start to see things clearing out as a large area of high pressure, Arctic high pressure, will be sitting over northwest Canada. There's going to be another high too coming off the Bering and then set up over the lower Yukon. So between these two high pressures, we are going to see some strengthening winds, especially along portions of the Panhandle and south of the Alaska Range through the Matanuska Valley as we get into Wednesday. And that pattern will tend to repeat itself by the weekend. Some strong winds across southern tier areas as the result of the pressure gradient from pretty strong high pressure that'll be over the mainland. Now, by the time we get into Wednesday, we do anticipate with those areas of high pressure setting up to see more in the way of VFR conditions. But again, keep in mind some areas will see stronger outflow gap winds as a result of in and around some of this mountainous terrain. So be aware of that if you're flying. And for Wednesday afternoon, we do anticipate return of some IFR conditions along the central Arctic coast around and east of Utqiagvik, and then areas to the far west, we could see some IFR conditions way out there, western Aleutians as you get out towards Shimia. So pass conditions on Tuesday, Anaktuvik Pass there in the east central Brooks Range, IFR conditions early becoming MVFR. Same thing, Adigan Pass, IFR becoming MVFR. Further south and west, Lake Clark and Merrill should hold on to VFR conditions on Tuesday. It'll become MVFR on the west side of the Alaska Range, so expect that their west entrances could become MVFR in the afternoon. As we go up the Alaska Range, VFR conditions becoming MVFR. Rainy Pass, Windy Pass will see VFR conditions become MVFR, but on the north side, you will encounter IFR conditions as you pop out there of the north entrance. Isabel Pass should see VFR conditions become MVFR Tuesday, and Mentasta Pass right now looks like it'll hold on to VFR conditions throughout the day Tuesday. And as we drop down across the Copper River Basin, Tanita Pass as well as Portage Pass, VFR conditions should be the rule on Tuesday. And then finally, in the far north end of the Panhandle, we do anticipate cold conditions with VFR conditions at Chilkoot and White. Now looking at the freezing levels, the surface freezing line, the stronger system, it's a windy low that's crossing right now the eastern portion of Russia up into the Chukchi Sea. Ahead of it, it's pulled temperatures above freezing up and across the Seward Peninsula. And we expect those to still be lingering temperatures just above freezing. Norton Sound, south side of the Seward Peninsula, and running down along the Gulf Coast in the south, and then out across the inner channels there of the Panhandle. Freezing levels of aloft do bump upwards above 4,000 feet as you get out toward the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, around and above 6,000 feet, with a broad area of freezing levels aloft above 8,000 feet in the North Pacific, south of the Gulf and south of the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula. Greatest threat for icing on Tuesday will be these areas of precipitation. Again, some of the precipitation is still on the heavier side this Monday. It still could have some areas of moderate snow throughout portions of the interior. So surface to 12,000 feet and some of that thicker cloud cover, you could pick up icing there. And then as that precipitation continues to slide southeastward, early Tuesday, you can find some moderate icing on the south end of the Panhandle down toward Ketchikan, Metlakatla above 3,000 feet. And then behind me here, south of the central Aleutians above 8,000 feet, and then way out western Aleutians could see some icing above 4,000 feet. Now, looking at winds, the pattern is such we have ridging out over the Bering for a change, and we have winds just kind of behind me here, 145 knot jet core along coastline there, Kamchatka and toward Japan. Trough working its way in the upper levels of the atmosphere. This is 30,000 feet across the eastern mainland. Now, as we bring things down to 9,000 feet or 700 millibars, clearly there's a high circulation here just off of the southwest coast. That is the same surface high, related to the same surface high that will be building over the lower Yukon here as we get into Tuesday night, Wednesday. But again, some of the strongest winds at mid-levels are found here along the Kamchatka coast, in excess of 85, even 100 knots. And then finally, 3,000 feet, we have a center of high pressure here over the eastern Bering. As I mentioned, will be coming in and settling in here over the southwest interior Tuesday night and Wednesday. We also have high pressure that'll be setting up better over the northwestern portion of Canada, but the circulation around these areas of high pressure has strongest winds in the low levels at 3,000 feet, anywhere from 40 to near 60 knots, eastern central Aleutians, and then along the Kamchatka coast we find winds 50, 60 knots, also some stronger winds with that low that right now is crossing eastern Russia by Tuesday. We expect that low to be getting north of Utqiagvik, east of Wrangel Island, and there will be some stronger winds along areas of the northwest coast as a result of that. So the greatest threat for severe turbulence potentially would be along areas of the northwest Arctic coast from, say, around Wainwright on up toward Utqiagvik. We also find a broad area of moderate turbulence across much of the north and into the interior, even up into the middle, upper Yukon Valley, surface to 4,000 feet, and that extends all the way back toward the Seward Peninsula and St. Lawrence Island. And then there is another area of stronger winds here and through the eastern Aleutians and just southwest of the Alaska Peninsula. There could be some isolated severe turbulence just along and south of the eastern Aleutians from the surface to 4,000 feet on Tuesday.